E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yay. Welcome to Messages of Inspirational Stories. Today is an awesome day. It's Pets We Love.
I can't spell love, can I?
No.
Let me correct that.
Jim.
Yeah. I was so excited. It's kind of like a flashback when I was in school,
Right?
Anyway.
There we go. Pets
There
We
we go.
Love. But Jim, we talked about this before the show, and we've talked about all different kinds of things on Pets We Love, how
yeah.
they're heroic, yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
Well, we're going to talk about something today with Pets We Love that is probably the most important thing we can talk about
Mhm.
for our pets. It's
Yeah.
safety. And I know all too well about some of that after what happened with my precious boy.
Oh, tell them about that. Listen to this, folks. My
So-
goodness gracious.
Most of y'all know that I've got a Great Pyrenees. His name is Jake, and the love of my life. And he's 4 feet long, so he's kind of small.
Lap puppy.
And he's not, by standards, he's not a pure Pyrenees, but he may as well be. But he's lanky, but he's not skinny. He's just not as big as some of the male Pyrenees get. So he only weighs around 85, 90 pounds. No big deal. So Jake has never liked water. So let's start with that, okay? Jake, even in Ohio, would go and lay in the snow and blend in for hours on end, right? Being Pyrenees and being husky, that was his thing. But hates water to the point where I would take him for a walk in Ohio, and we would be crossing the street, and in the gutter there's about 8 inches of water, right, going down the gutter. He would look down, not once in a while, every time. He would look down at that water in the gutter and make sure he crossed it where none of his feet touched the water in the gutter. That's how much this child of mine hates water. Well, okay, fast forward. I moved back to Arizona, and I have a swimming pool, right? We live in the Phoenix Valley, and, it's pretty dadgum hot here. Nothing. Jake would go out there and lay in the yard, or he'd go and he would lay on the cool deck. No big deal. Well, last Tuesday, I had gotten up exceptionally early in the morning. And I don't mean 4. I mean really early. And so at about probably 2:30, I sat down, and I had let Jake out back, and I was going to have a little nap. So I did. And I woke up from a dream that Jake was either hurt or dying or dead.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I got up, and usually when I get up, probably like most people, y'all have to go to the bathroom, right? After you've been sleeping or have a long nap. And I got up, and I thought I need to look out and see where Jake is. So I went to the back door, and I looked out, and I couldn't find him. And I thought, what the hell is going on? I opened the door, and I looked, and there's my dog in my swimming pool. It's about 20 plus feet from the back door to the swimming pool, and probably another 3.5 feet beyond that. I promise you, slippers and all, I was out the back door and in that swimming pool, had jumped over the handrail to pull yourself up out of the steps, had jumped over the handrail, turned in midair, and landed on my feet in probably about 3 seconds. And he had been in there a while. So my first attempt, and it's not his weight. I can deadlift his weight, and especially when you have adrenaline going, right? Not his weight, but his length, and the fact, of course, that he was scared. Because he's so dadgum long, it's kind of hard to maneuver him. So I went to lift him once, and that didn't work too well. And I talked to him, and I said, okay, Jake, we got this. And I lifted him, and I got him out and up onto the pool deck. I jumped out of the pool, and he tried to stand up, and his little front legs were kind of like this, and he collapsed. And at that moment, I thought he had maybe broke his leg. So I told him to hold, and I went and grabbed some towels, some pool towels that I had on the back patio, the couch, and I put over him, and I told him to hold. And I went flying in the house, and I grabbed my phone and came out. And of course, I had called my husband and told him I needed him home right away. So I said, I don't know. I think maybe he's broke his leg, but I'm going to need some help. So I went in the house, and I told Jake to hold again. I went in the house to get more towels, etc. And I came out, and he had crawled out to the backyard to go to the bathroom, being what dogs do. And he sat down, and he was shaking. Okay, so here's the other part. He was shaking uncontrollably. And when I mean shake, I mean like this, all over. So he wouldn't lay down, and it clocked in my head. He didn't lay down for a reason. He sat, and I think it's because once he knew he laid down, he was done. He wasn't going to be able to get up again. So I took one of the pool towels and put it under his stomach like a sling. And I told him, I said, okay, baby, I got you. And so from the end of my backyard, which is a bit of a distance, I couldn't tell you how many feet. It's got to be probably 75 feet to the back door. I literally made a sling and lifted him. And so all he had to do was just kind of use his feet and help me balance him. So I basically lifted him into the back door, opened the door, got him in, got him on the rug, went and got his bed. He crawled up onto his bed. I put towels over him, a sheet over him, got the portable heater and put on him. He could not walk, Jim. He couldn't stand up on his hind end for over 4 hours.
Wow.
He'd been in the pool, to my best guesstimate, judging from how cold he was and how soaked through to the bone he was, probably 2 hours.
That just really tears your heart out because, you blame yourself for something like that.
Oh, I absolutely do.
And him having a fear of water, you would think that, well, evidently he must have slipped or something.
He slipped, fell in. It could be his eyesight. I don't know. But I do know this, folks, if you have a dog, and this is what I'm going to tell you, if you have a dog and he absolutely refuses to swim, which my dog will, he hates it, that you either put up a barrier around a pool or you do not let him out, him or her, you do not let them out unattended for long periods of time. Because if Jake had fell in the deep end, I don't think he'd be here today.
And he's been your sidekick, your constant companion for what, 12 years?
12 years. It'll be 13 in April.
Boy, I tell you, I've shared on a show previously, maybe more than once, but when I lost my Australian cattle dog, Blue Heeler Range, he was my sidekick for 10 years, and he got pneumonia. By the time we realized he was sick, it was almost too late.
Right.
Because dogs have a way of, camouflaging themselves. Yes. And that's the scary part. And within 48 hours, ladies and gentlemen, he was gone. And one of my friends asked me, said, how you doing? I said, well, I'm all right. Yes. I just tell him, I said, it's kind of hard to dig a grave with tears in your eyes. It really is. And
absolutely.
So when it comes to our pets, we do everything we can to keep them safe, to keep them out of harm's way. And because, as much as we love them and all that, and much as they love us, they can't really tell us, what's going on. And, like he couldn't, did he bark at all? He's not a barker, though, is he?
No, see, that's the thing. There are
Man.
certain Pyrenees that one of the things that will piss off the neighbors if you live in town with the Pyrenees is they don't stop barking. They bark at everything. That leaf, that is dangerous. They bark and bark and bark. But Jake is not a big barker. He doesn't even bark when he goes after feral cats in the backyard. You'll never hear him. He doesn't even growl. He's just gone like greased lightning. So he's not a big barker. So if he barked, I didn't hear him. But had I not woken up with that dream, I hate to think what would have happened.
Oh my goodness, you know it. And one of the things I want to talk about today, because we're getting ready to head into, the holiday season and all that, and I call it the holiday season, is from Thanksgiving through Christmas, New Year's, and all that. And ways to keep your pets safe, because a lot of people travel with their pets.
Yes.
And one of the things, and I'm actually on the CDC.gov website where it says Healthy Pets, and this is got a lot of good information there.
Yes, it does.
And I'm just going to share a little bit with you. It says owning a pet can increase opportunities to exercise, get outside, and explore new places. Now, really, owning a pet is a great opportunity to experience true love, unconditional love. That's priority with a pet. And you want to take your pet with you wherever you travel in new places. A lot of people travel with their pets, and traveling sometimes can be very, very stressful on your pets.
Yes.
It really can be, because you're upsetting their world. You're taking them out of their home, and you're telling them, talking to them and letting them know that everything's going to be okay and we're going to have fun and all that. And they're thinking, you're calling this fun, putting me in a travel cage or whatever,
For how many hours?
Yeah. And it's very, very stressful on them. And it's also very stressful on the owner, because if your pet's upset, or your pet is stressed out, you're going to be stressed out too. There's no question about it. Just like Donna shared with her experience there. Can you imagine how she felt? Open up the back door and seeing her dog in that pool of water, thinking, oh my gosh, that's, I understand. That just stabs you in the heart. It really does. But traveling, being stressful on you and your pets, with your best made travel plans that you can make, it takes careful planning. It really does. And preparation can help prevent stress and keep you and your pets, more relaxed, more safe, more healthy, and all that. Because stress is definitely detrimental to our health. We all know that, certainly to our pets. And some places or types of travel, like airplanes, may have regulations on travel with pets, as well as the required documentation. But I'm just going to share this one bit here, and I'm going to let Donna talk about being in the car, because she's had a lot of experience with it.
Just a little.
Yeah. I'm going to let the subject matter expert share that with you. But some of the preparing for travel with pets, before traveling, properly identify your pet in case you get separated during the trip, and make sure your pet is microchipped for identification purposes, and keep your contact and pet information updated. That is critical. And Donna, you've probably, I don't know, you travel a little bit with pets in your vehicles, I know, and I mean,
a few times.
looks like Noah's Ark going down the road on wheels.
Yeah. So the thing is, in all my life, all the animals I've ever had, I've only had one cat that did not yowl when traveling. Most cats will meow and yowl, and if you have a Siamese cat, well, that's a whole different ballgame. They really yowl. That I had a cat that I brought from Ohio here to Arizona, and his name was J-Man, and he was a gorgeous, gorgeous Black Panther.
Mm.
He
Yep.
was a baby, sweet baby boy, but he
Hmm.
loved car rides.
Hmm.
He loved them. He never meowed. He was excited. If he could get up on the dash and see what was going on, he was
Hmm.
cool with it. But cats, now this is something that you need to understand. Cats really, really stress out when they
Hmm.
travel. So it is really important to understand that and possibly get a little something from your vet to take the edge off of them because
Hmm.
it can put them into liver or a renal failure,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it's super stressful, super,
Hmm.
super stressful.
Hmm.
So, if I could open up all the doors or just have them run around in the car and not get under my feet, that would be gravy. But that's not the case with most cats. So,
Hmm.
understanding that. Also, make sure that they're vented. Here's another thing: even though cats can take heat pretty well, if you're traveling in the summer, you need to make sure whatever you've got them contained in, whatever kind of travel, that it's well vented,
Hmm.
right? And stop and periodically and get them out and love them and let them know that they're okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
that they're okay. So
Hmm.
for me, traveling with Jake wasn't an issue because he just took up an entire back seat. and he, and he did, but it even stressed him when I moved here to Arizona with him. He was stressed because he's very, just like any animal. He's left his home, the only one he knew, and now he's being in this vehicle and he's traveling. So he would urinate, but he didn't really go to the bathroom but one time on the trip, and honestly it was about 30 some hours into the trip before
Wow.
he went to the bathroom.
Hmm. Yeah. And when it comes to traveling with your pet, one of the things you're going to do, especially if you're traveling by car and they're not used to it, don't wait until the day you're going to pack up and go. And the best way to prepare your pet is to take them on a series of short
Yep.
drives and get them familiar with it and let them know it's a fun, try to instill in them that's a fun time for them to be with you. We're going somewhere and you're going with me, and try to make it as much fun as you can
Right.
because pets are a lot more intelligent than we realize.
Right.
And
And talk to them. And there's also
yeah.
pheromones that you can get for cats
Mhm.
that help them relax.
Mhm. Yeah, it really is. And they say here before traveling across state lines, be sure and check the requirements for bringing pets along because certain states have certain laws. And if your dog is always used to, I remember back in the 70s and 80s, you could ride with your dog in the back of a pickup.
Right.
You can't do that now. So therefore, if you think your dog's just sitting back there in the back seat, and he's happy, and he's used to it, some states require for the dog to have some type of be secured in some way, and that would be to have being a little harness and attached. So if you have to hit the brakes, they don't go flying forward.
Right.
And so check out the state laws there. And it's not a bad idea to put them in a harness and to have them fastened to the seat belt or whatever, because it does keep them safe. Because even if you had to hit the brakes, you wouldn't want your dog to fall into the floorboard.
Right.
Think about that. So that's a really good tip, and I never thought about that. And if you're going to keep them in a crate, make sure they familiar with the crate. I recommend you bring the crate in the house and put a little treat in there, and
Crate
tell them,
train your dog. If you're going to
yeah.
take them in a crate, you
Mhm.
need to crate train your dog before you stick them in there because otherwise they're going to think it's a punishment.
Yeah, and they're going to think, let's be honest here, they're going to think you're probably going to take them to the vet, kind of like a friend of
That you're
mine.
going
He
to
was,
abandon them. They don't
yeah,
understand it. My dog has
yeah,
never been in a crate ever.
yeah.
And he had a really bad ear infection, both ears. And I
Mhm.
couldn't, it was during the pandemic, Jim. I could not get him into a vet, save my soul. So I had called the vet that I've used here from time to time. And they said, well, we don't have an opening, but we could get him in probably at the end of the day. And I said, okay, so what time? And she said, oh, no, no. You'll need to bring him in and we'll put him in one of the kennels. And then at the end of the day, we'll try and get to see him. I said, my dog is 12 years old, Sweet Pea, and he has never been in a kennel in his life. And I am not going to subject a 12-year-old dog into a kennel all day without me being there. He would melt down. So I ended up going to where I buy my animals food and bought the same medicine, folks, the same medicine that the vets will give you for his ears. It took 2 times because his ear infections were pretty bad. But I got him the medicine and I saved myself the vet bill. I saved the stress, most important, the stress with my dog. And he was totally taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing too, it just came to mind because a lot of times pet owners, the only time they put their dog in a car with them or truck, whatever, is when they're going to take them to the vet. So it's important for you to take them on little short trips and make them longer and things like that, so they'll know that not every time they get in a car they're going to the vet.
Right.
And it's like my buddy says, he says, I felt kind of bad because I lied to my dog. I lied to my dog. I said, you lied to your dog? He says, yeah, on the way up there, I told him, I said, hey, man, you're going to have fun. It's going to be a good trip, yada, 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 and all this. There's going to be some people. And he says, then I go pick him up. And he's in the back seat and he's like this, and he's all nervous and scared. So, hey, did you have a fun time? And he says, my dog could could talk. He'd probably say, no, they put me to sleep and I woke up and I'm missing something.
Right. Right.
So, my point being is that get them used to going on fun trips with you.
Yes.
That'll relieve the stress for the dog and also for you. Because it's critical because if the only time they're inside the vehicle you take them to the vet, they're going to think, oh, this is
right.
And especially if it's a long trip, they're going to think, oh, I'm never going to be able to get back home or something. It's
absolutely. Yeah. And one of the other things I would like to say, because I've traveled and lived different places all over the country, and have traveled literally cross country more times than I can count with animals. One of the things I think it's important to talk about is the personality of your animal. Okay, so most of you know that I have 4 cats, and 99% of the time when we're doing this show, like right now, I've got Glock on my lap. Now she is the smallest of all our cats. She can be very fierce when she's playing with her sisters or her brother, but she is the most timid. The moment the doorbell rings or somebody knocks on the door, whether they're invited in the house or not, she's gone and hiding either under our bed or under the covers in our bed. So what I'm saying is the other cats are more, okay, let's see what's going on. Bullet doesn't know a stranger. But because of that, her having to go somewhere, she would need to probably be with one of her sisters to feel comfort.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's so timid.
And one thing too, when you're traveling, in your vehicle with your pet, be sure and stop at convenient places. Not on the side of a busy road or anything like that, but get off the busy road. Be sure and stop at a place where there's not a lot of activity, and be able to get your pet out and let them stretch their legs and talk to them and just reassure them that we're having a good trip. We're going to go there and we're going to come back home, and that sort of thing. Because getting them out of the car and getting their feet grounded on planet Earth is critical. Because Donna, you're probably better explaining this than I am. You're probably thinking, okay, why'd you even bring that subject up and then dump it on me? But realistically, dogs are very well grounded, and we understand that. And they have a lot of senses in their feet.
Yes.
And through their pods.
It's in their equilibrium.
Yeah, and that's why you also talk about and warn about using toxic chemicals, cleaning your floor. While it may smell good, but I mean, that gets transferred right into their pods because their pods are they're very receptive to stuff like that.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Exactly.
and so grounding them will also give them reassurance, and comfort that, okay, I'm on planet Earth and you're with me and you're comforting me. Okay,
Right.
fine. But that constant travel in a car, they're not grounded.
Right.
They really aren't. And I didn't know if you wanted to add any more to that or not,
Well,
or.
yeah, I think like one thing I will tell you with my experience with now J-Man was a Bombay, and
Mhm.
but he wasn't just a Bombay. He was mixed with something else because he was unlike any cat I've ever had, and
Mhm.
his whole body was a lot bigger than a normal house cat. So he was exceptionally different from the get go. But I will I would like to tell you this: make sure that if you are using an older carrier for a cat, that
Mhm.
you are truly double checking it. Make sure that it is cat proof. And I say that because I had these wonderful carriers that were actually for a small dog, and they're probably about 3 feet long. So lots of room for a cat. I put J Man in one. We're going down the road. We're in New Mexico, pitch black. I have a pitch black cat, and the SOB figured out how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Now, I was freaking out because not that he was bad to drive with. I knew different. He'd get up on my lap or
Mhm.
get on there. But what happens when it's darker than anything outside? I open the door and he jumps out as a black cat. How am I going to find him again? Then he
Oh
gets spooked.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
make sure whatever you transport your dogs or your cat in, if you need to put them in something, that it is safe and truly going to keep them contained. Worst
Mhm.
case
Yeah.
scenario, you never want your obviously your cat to get loose in a strange place and
Oh
then
my
and then be
goodness.
scared and run.
Yeah, because you won't be able to catch them. You know
No,
that.
no.
And even if you just, want to play it safe and take one of these twisty ties and twist it up in addition to that, because cats are amazing how
I
they
would
can.
I would caution and say use a zip tie because
Mhm.
J Man got through a twisty and I ended up having to use a paper clip and twisting it because
Mm.
he broke the damn zipper.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because the Bombay, he would say he was part Bombay. The
Yes,
Bombay cat, I've
smart.
had one. Yes, and they are described as the Black Panther because they're a small cat. They're smart, but oh my goodness, and their coat is so beautiful. It
Yeah,
looks like black satin.
yes, it does.
They
J
don't have
Man,
any.
that's why I say he wasn't all
Mhm,
Bombay because in
mhm.
his heyday, I kid you not, that cat weighed over about 23, 24 pounds.
Wow,
He's a big, big boy.
you had a miniature Black Panther, is what
Yes,
you
I
had.
did. So,
Oh yeah.
Jim, why don't we jump into this about essential oils?
Oh yes, please do.
Okay.
Please
So,
do.
for those of you who've watched our show, you'll know that I am a big proponent on, doing the best we can for our
Mhm,
environment, but for ourselves and our pets.
mhm.
I don't use toxic chemicals in my home, period.
Mm-mm.
And I haven't for, gosh, I guess it's been going on 19 years now. Because when we use toxic chemicals, we scrub the floor, use a toxic chemical in your dishwasher, all
Mhm,
of that outgassing comes down to the floor. We pick it up on our feet, our children pick it up, they breathe it in, and so do our animals. And they all
mhm,
have smaller lungs than we do.
mhm,
So I use nothing toxic. But I will tell you, one of the big rages in the last, 10 years, or maybe a skosh more, has been essential oils, right? So
mhm,
understand essential oils are great for us, but we
mhm.
need to understand if you're using essential oils, although beneficial, are often harmful to our pets. And this
Mm.
applies to them when they're not directly on your pet. I'm talking diffusers, etc.
Mhm.
So taking a closer look at which essential oils are toxic for pets, um, it's imperative that we know this. And I'm trying to find where it is. So bear with me just a second. I know that tea tree oil or melaleuca oil is extremely toxic.
Yes,
Peppermint,
yes, it is.
peppermint oil.
Mhm.
Where is it? Okay, here we go.
Mhm.
Harmful to cats. This is,
There we
but
go.
not limited to
Mhm.
wintergreen,
Mhm.
sweet birch, citrus, pine, yang, peppermint, cinnamon, pennyroyal, clove, eucalyptus, again, the tea tree, thyme, oregano, and lavender.
Mm.
What are harmful to dogs?
Mm.
Cinnamon, citrus, pennyroyal, peppermint, pine, sweet birch, tea tree or melaleuca, wintergreen, lang lang, anise, clove, thyme, juniper, yarrow, and garlic.
Wow.
So, what are some of the symptoms poisoning pets with essential oils? So, here are the several common symptoms of poisoning in pets. A good rule of thumb, as any pet owner, is to stay alert to see if you see any changes in their behavior.
Mhm.
Watch out for the smell of essential oils on their fur, their skin, breath, or vomit. If they're having
Ooh.
difficulty breathing, drooling, fatigue, weakness, difficulty walking, or if they're stumbling, muscle tremors, pawing at the mouth or the face, redness or burns on their lips, tongue, skin,
Mm.
or gums, and vomiting.
Mm. So, as a general rule, when it comes to essential oils in your animals, it's not a good fit at all. So, I
Right,
would, just, as good as they are for us, see, what's good for the goose is never good for the gander.
right,
I mean,
right,
like dogs can eat raw meat, we can't.
right,
you know and so that's a good rule of thumb, is just keep in mind that essential oils that are great for us as humans is not a good fit for your animals, dogs and cats. And if you have
right.
other pets, check it out. Right now, the information we're sharing with you is at a website called found
Mhm.
animals.org // I should say, essential oils toxic pets.
Yes,
So that's foundanimals.org, and just do a search on there about essential oils and pets.
right.
And you need to be aware of that because, I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things, is for someone to not be aware of something that they use, and
Unintentional.
and then find out later the hard way that it was harmful to a beloved pet.
Right.
That's a heartbreaker, isn't it, Donna?
It is. So, because I have a really problematic neck. So,
Hmm.
peppermint oil, pure peppermint oil, is amazing for my neck. And so I will put that on. It used to be, I would put it on before I got this round of vermin. I would put it on and go to bed. But now, because the cats sleep with us, or I should say they sleep with me, they don't sleep on my husband's side of the bed. They just kind of all surround me in bed. But because of that, if my neck is hurting, I will use peppermint oil, but I will only use it during the day when I'm
Hmm.
up and walking and away from them.
Hmm.
I will not put it on before I go to bed. And when I do use it, I make sure that I wash my hands about 5 times to get all of the peppermint oil off my hands
Hmm.
so I don't transfer it.
Yeah. Also, too, there is a 1-800 number. It's 800-213-6680. That's 1-800-213-6680. That is the Pet Poison Hotline. So you could call them, in need of emergency or whatever, and, get some information from them. It says call your veterinarian or contact the Pet Poison
Yes.
Helpline. Pet Poison Hitline. Again, that telephone number, ladies and gentlemen, is 1-800-213-6680.
So, Jim,
Mhm.
there's another couple things that we have that we want to talk about
Okay.
that can be all about pet safety
Mhm.
for both cats and dogs. So let's start with cats. First of all, here in the Desert Valley and throughout other areas of the country, but here in Arizona, we have a lot of scorpions.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with cats. Cats are immune to a scorpion.
Hmm.
So to them, it's like if you and I got poked or pricked really hard with, say, something, a tip of a knife or something, where it doesn't really hurt you, but you know it's there.
Mhm.
But they're immune to it, and so a cat can dance and they'll kill a scorpion. It's
Mhm.
just in their nature. A dog, however, is not immune to them.
Mm.
So some dogs, and it depends on the scorpion and the different kind and how much venom they have, right?
Mhm.
So honestly, if my dog was to get bit by a scorpion, I would take it to the hospital. I would take it to the vet or a vet emergency hospital right away, because especially if you have an older or a younger animal,
Mhm.
right? And their immune system is maybe a little more in need, shall we say.
Mhm.
So that's a good rule of thumb. But we also have rattlesnakes.
Ooh.
And a lot of people may or may not realize that any rattlesnake bite for a cat, a dog, or a person is harmful.
Yeah, very serious.
But a young rattlesnake, it's worse.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm talking the ones that have just come out of, just hatched,
Mhm.
because their venom is full strength. They do not yet know how to pull back. Whereas, believe it or not, even as painful as a adult rattlesnake bite can be, they pull back the strength of their venom.
Yes.
They'll tag you, so to speak,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They'll come up and they'll strike you once, and then if they're still really mad and you're not out of their area, they'll come at you again and strike you again. So they're not using all of their poison at that time. A young rattlesnake does not know how to do this.
Mhm.
So when they strike, they dump it all. They
That's
give
right.
everything they've got.
Yeah. And the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because with any type of venomous snake, their venom is part of the fluid that they use for digestive purposes.
Right.
And so they're not going to waste all their venom on an animal or a human that they cannot eat. But like Donna says, the young ones, they has no, they're just going to, dump it all in. That's
Right.
why their venom is so potent and so dangerous. And because they are baby snakes, they can get into places close to where your pets are that maybe a normal adult-sized snake would not, or be wise enough, because snakes like to avoid you. They
Right.
really, truly do. And here in the United States, there's a lot of myths about snakes, and I don't want to go too deeply into this, but you take like the copperheads we have here. Copperheads are not aggressive. If anyone tells you they are not. I've lived out here in the country for 22 years. I don't know how many dozens of copperheads. The other ones I kill are the ones right around my house. If I'm out in the woods in, 500 yards away from my house, I see a copperhead, I leave it alone. But if he comes up around my house, that's it.
Right.
And I got to tell the story here. We had a little, one of my Australian cattle dogs, little Lobo, he got popped on the side of the face by a copperhead, because that's what we have here. We don't have rattlesnakes. Not complaining, you guys can keep them, but There was two serious puncture wounds there
Mhm.
in the side of his little jaw, right side of his jaw, and his head swelled up, bless his heart. I looked at him as, what in the world was wrong with you? And I saw those two puncture wounds, and I
Right.
knew that he had been hit.
Yep.
And I called the vet, and the vet said, well, Jim, what's he doing there? I said, well, he's drooling, his head swollen up a little bit. He said, well, don't just watch him a little bit. He says, I don't want to hit him with an anti-venom. And I'm thinking, okay, why not? Because right now I'm in uncharted water. This is the first
Right.
time in my life I've ever had a pet bitten by a poisonous snake. And he says, the copperhead is like most venomous snakes, adult snakes, as wide as big as, or the width in between the fangs. He says that's an adult snake.
Hmm.
He said what he got was a little venom that was already on the fang or in the fang. He did not get it from the full dose. If he
Right.
had,
From
he,
the glands.
yeah, from the glands, yeah. And because they need that, because otherwise, if they can't digest their food, they'll die. And
Right.
to replace the venom in their glands, it takes a while. So that's why when a snake eats a rat or something, then they're kind of dormant for a while. They got to digest it. They got to let the venom recharge, that sort of thing. It's a cycle. And I said, what do I do? He said, well, just, observe him. And,
Right.
he said, he should be okay. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't like that. But that's what we did. And next morning, his head was a little swollen, but he was okay. I thought he had a little bit of a headache, I imagine. But, I told my sister, Lobo,
That he
leave
did.
those things alone. And so what I did, that rascal bit my little boy. So now, me being a retired master sergeant, an old Vietnam veteran, this is war. Okay. I got out because I know they come out at night. I got out my boots, my flashlight, and I went snake hunting because I don't have that many around my house. And they do not like cloves. Snakes do not like cloves. So if you have snakes around your house, the cloves is a great deterrent, and it's not going to harm anybody. But they don't like the smell of it. But I was out there and I was walking around, and a third or fourth night it was. And my neighbor, she was kind of seeing me out there with a flashlight at night walking around, and she's kind of like wondering, what's he doing? Because I'm out in
Right.
the country, out in the backyard, flashlight, walking around. What am I doing, And I saw that rascal. I said, uh-huh. I don't know if you're the one that actually bit Lobo, but you're the one that's going to pay the price for it. And I went in and told Lobo, I says, Lobo, I got that snake that bit you. I said, the first shot was to kill him. Those other shots I pumped in him, that was for you, little buddy. And he looked at me and smiled like he understood. But I
Right.
mean, I just, you just don't mess with, someone's, their pets or their animals, their kids, their family. You just don't do that without,
Right.
in other words, like the old saying goes, and I want to hush with this. If you're going to start a fight with somebody, you better know who you're starting to fight with. You might just get your key arcus kicked.
Right. Well,
Really.
rattlesnakes, as a rule, they've got the rattle. We all know
Mhm.
this, and they'll rattle to warn you off.
That's right.
Right? They will rattle to warn you off. If
Mhm.
you are walking and you're too close to them and they rattle and strike you, it isn't because they're just being ugly
Mean.
or mean.
Yeah.
They're feeling threatened. Now, I will
Yeah.
tell you, here in Arizona, there's 11 different species of rattlesnakes. There are some
Wow.
rattlesnakes that don't have a rattle, but every bit is venomous.
Mm.
There's also I believe it's a speckled rattlesnake,
That's
and we
correct.
have one that is meaner than mean, and it's called a Mojave.
Oh, yeah.
Now, those things are
They're
just
very potent.
generally ugly, and they are very potent. They
They
are
have
mean.
a,
They will charge you. They will charge you and not think twice about it.
yeah. They also, the reason that they're so dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, most rattlesnakes have a hemotoxin type of venom. The hemotoxin will attack tissue and the blood, but the neurotoxin
Right.
that's found in cobras and other, deadly snakes around the world, The neurotoxin, that actually attacks the central nervous system. That'll stop your heart from pumping. That'll stop your lungs from breathing. In other words, that'll take you out. And the Mojave she's
Right.
talking about has a combination of the neuro and the hemotoxin. And they're kind of got a lot of green, a little bit of a greenish looking, not green skin, but they're got more of a greenish color tone to them or
A
something.
hue, a
A
green
hue.
hue.
That's the word. What Donna said.
Well, I guess if it, so, this would be my 2 cents.
Okay.
If you are going to go hiking,
Mhm.
or you live in an area where your cats, your dogs, whatever your pet is, your children especially, are around, make sure that you do your due diligence and your
Amen.
homework and find out what is indigenous in that area you're going to be hiking or camping or living in, and understand what you can do to help your pets if they get struck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having communication issues, so pardon me while I do this.
She's cat sitting is what she's doing. That's what she means. But yeah, it's very, very critical because snake bites, number one, it's very, very scary for a pet owner to see that their pet has been bit by a snake. And but the good news of it is, thankfully, that normally they don't dump all of their venom into the pet. They just want to, strike them and get away. And like Donna says, with the rattlesnakes, I've walked up on 2 of them in my life, both of them in Arizona, and they will rattle at you. But as soon as you start to move back away, they'll stop rattling.
Right.
They want you to go away. They don't want to fight you. They're not really wanting to, I'm talking about the diamondbacks I've walked up with,
Yeah.
the black and white stripe. It's what's called the coontail. But I just, playing around with a little bit, not, trying to get bit or anything, but I just take a step towards them and I back up. They stop. I step forward again. Like, didn't you hear me?
Mhm.
And I'll tell you something gave me the willies is that when I walked around him, that flat head, those eyes just followed me. And I thought, whoa, that didn't, that was
Right.
a little unnerving for me. Some of you guys out there may be laughing at me, and that's fine. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. But I don't like a snake staring me down, okay?
Well, the other
Guilty as
thing
charged.
about a snake that's going to strike is understand it can strike more than the length of its body. Right? Well, if it's a foot, it's going to come, it's got a foot to go, but it propels itself. So it's going to go a little bit farther
Yeah.
than, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because it's going to go out and it's going
Yeah.
to propel itself a little bit
Yeah.
further
The momentum.
in momentum. Exactly. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying, by huge amounts, but a little bit. So,
Mhm.
if it's a foot,
Mhm.
that he's going to go probably a couple inches more than that foot in
Yeah.
the momentum of going
Yeah.
out and then coming back.
Yeah, what's amazing with rattlesnakes especially, and when they strike, the first initial strike, you don't see the strike, you just see the recoil.
Right.
I mean, realistically, I'm
It's
going like,
true.
whoa, Nelly. And so, Donna, you might get a kick out of this here. You might have already known this, but I heard one time that a roadrunner could kill a rattlesnake, and I'm going like, okay, I didn't believe it. And then I saw a documentary on PBS, and the little roadrunner's out there, and he's going to kill that rattlesnake. And this is a regular, sized, adult diamondback. And what he did, holds out his wings like, a bullfighter would with his
Right.
cape and all that. And he knows how to stay back just far enough to tease the snake to strike and miss him. And of course, the first time the rattlesnake struck, all you see is the recoil. You don't see anything coming forward. You see the
Right.
recoil. They're lightning fast.
Yes, they
And
are.
then the second time, he's lightning fast. He's a little bit slower coming back. The third time he strikes, he's exhausted. The snake is. And that's when he's slowly, he's very slowly dragging back like this. And that's when the little roadrunner
Attacks.
jumped on the back on the neck, started pecking him in the back of the head and kills him. And I'm going like, wow, if I'd have been a betting man without seeing that and knowing that,
Right.
Someone says, "Hey, you want to bet $5 that little road runner there can kill that rattlesnake?" I said, "You better believe it. How much is $5 all you want to lose, or what?" Because it was just amazing. And now
Or
I've
for
had
the cobras and the mongoose.
yes, well, that's a good story. The mongoose can kill a cobra. And I remember one time reading a story or hearing a story somewhere, but they put a mongoose in front of a diamondback, thinking the same thing. Diamondback won, mongoose 0.
Wow.
Because when the cobra strikes, it strikes down. You can see it. And the mongoose can move. He can move aside, and the cobra,
Right.
goes to the side. Not the diamondback. The diamondback's way too fast, and he was hit.
Right.
And
Yeah,
he
the
probably
king
thought,
cobra can spit their venom further, though.
yeah, there's a spitting cobra. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
that
sure is.
spitting
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And they're, that one they can win too, but they know what they're dealing with on that.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
the bites of cats and dogs with snakes really aren't all that much different
Mhm.
uh, than what we deal with, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So, in knowing uh, knowing first of all your area, right?
Hmm. Right.
But symptoms of a snake bite will vary depending, of course, on the snake and
Hmm.
even your animal. But
Hmm.
it's weakness, collapse, the vomiting, diarrhea,
Hmm.
muscle twitching, trembling, swelling,
Hmm.
unsteady gait, drooling. They might bleed from the nose.
Hmm.
Discolored urine due to kidney failure.
Yeah.
Low blood pressure can be another one.
Hmm.
They'll go into shock. One of the
Hmm.
things you should do if they act different, both dog or cat, is check their gums.
Hmm. Mm.
Right? If their
Yeah.
gums are not pink and kind of grayish white, they're in
Hmm.
shock. Their blood pressure dropped.
Yeah. One thing too is that, and I found this to be true. Get get information. You can get it from the local state, local county, or whatever, of what snakes are in your area. Good snakes, bad snakes, poison snakes, and non-poisonous. That's where I'm classifying as good and bad. But know what the pattern in the skin color is. I mean, the different, because every time you pick up a snake or see a snake or take a picture of one, you ask somebody, you know what kind of snake it is? Oh, no, it looked like a rattlesnake to me. And that is
Right.
and you don't want to fall in that trap. You want to know what kind of snakes are in your area, or especially where you're going to.
Yes.
So if you see a snake, and like the chicken snake that we have here, that what's known as the rat snake, the Texas rat snake, that thing can scare you. It can
Bull
climb
snakes too.
trees.
Bull
It can
snakes will
climb.
scare you.
Yeah, it can climb trees.
Mhm.
And I remember one time at the place where I owned a business, there was a guy went in, and he was deathly scared of snakes. We didn't know that. I walk outside about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm drinking coffee, and everything's going good. And I'm looking at my neighbor's area there, 'cause we're in an industrial area. Saw this guy go in this building. He came out screaming bloody murder. I mean, he was almost killing himself trying to get out of there. And what happened, there was a Texas rat snake, which is also referred to as the chicken snake with farmers because they like their eggs. The rat snake had crawled up on this rafter and was looking down at him when he came in, and it just freaked him right out. I mean, I understand people have a fear for snakes. I'm not laughing, but I mean,
Right.
the way he was hollering and coming out, I thought, oh my gosh, what's in there? I mean,
Right.
I had to go down there because I didn't know if if there was a murder victim in there or what. I had no idea.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
Well, folks, we really have to wrap up. Our time's gone, but we
we'll talk
wanted
some
to
more
bring
about snakes.
you we wanted to bring you some tips today on pet
Mhm.
safety
Yes.
and being aware of your surroundings. And for
Yeah.
those of you with pools, or maybe you have a pond, I truly hope, if this hasn't ever happened to you, but it could with
Mhm.
the age of an animal or an illness, that
Mhm.
you take into account what happened to me and my precious boy
Oh
quite
yeah.
seriously. Needless to say, my dog is no longer allowed to be outside unattended because of
Mhm.
his age. He could have issues with his eyes, etc.
Yeah.
But thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us today.
Yes, absolutely. One more time before we close, I want to be able to be sure, and that pet poison hotline telephone
Yes.
number is 1-800-213-6680. That's 800-213-6680. So might want to make a note of that and put it somewhere, keep it on your fridge or whatever. And
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. We want to thank you so much for tuning in today. And we love our pets. We know you love your pets, and we love that you tuned in today to see our show. And on behalf of Donna and myself, we just simply want to say we sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are healthy, happy, and blessed in all areas of your life. Be sure and love yourself. Be sure and forgive yourself. And most importantly, understand that you are something else. You're very, very special. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.